The upcoming super middleweight battle between Caleb Plant and David Benavidez is the type of fight that has the typical classic contrast of styles, but also a contrast of personalities. And as everything has played out thus far, we may have a fight. Let's talk about it. Coming up on Saturday, March 25th on Showtime pay-per-view, Caleb Plant and David Benavidez will finally cross paths in the ring due to circling one another in the division, in the sport of boxing, as well as in one another's minds for the past several years. This is going to be the type of fight where the bad blood is real and both men are going to come into this fight pretty much as focused as they could possibly be. The build-up leading up to this fight with the behind-the-scenes coverage, the interviews and sound bites have made for good scribe, but it could be inconclusive if intangibles play a factor in this fight, and there is a high probability of that taking place. When you look at the two men, Benavidez, who is 26-0 at the age of 26, is a former two-time champion, though never losing his titles in the ring. But Caleb Plant, a one-time champion, coming back into his own after a great knockout in his last fight. But both men's careers are being defined about what may happen here in this fight. I'm really an advocate of what has happened to them prior to this fight being significant. With a record of 22-1 now with 13 KOs, Plant comes in having lost a fight with Canelo Alvarez in November of 2021 where he was stopped late in the fight. He rebounded that last October with a knockout of Anthony Dirrell. The knockout was impressive. Many people thought that his new trainer, Breadman, had contributed enough to Caleb to point him in the direction of setting down on his punches and being able to set things up in a wiser manner. We will find out if that is true, or if Dirrell was just one made to order for what Caleb brought that night. When you flip it over to David Benavidez, he has been his own worst enemy, causing himself to become a two-time world champion, having lost his title, being stripped for recreational drug use, and losing the title on the scale. No one has ever denied the fact that this young man is a fierce competitor in the ring and brings a certain type of skill set that defines that record of 26-0 with 23 KOs as being something that's formidable. Maturation is important in boxing. And as we've looked at Benavidez entering this fight, he appears to have gotten in the best shape possible for this fight. And I think that he wants to prove something to the world as well as himself. And it will remain to be seen if the improvements have transpired upstairs mentally. That is going to be the most important part for he in this fight. I believe that both men mentally are going to have to prove something to one another as well as themselves when they meet on fight night. Caleb Plant, who has enjoyed the nickname Sweet Hands because he boxes beautifully. He's got great lateral movement. He throws his punches at times in combinations, and he is at times a little bit slick inside the ropes. This fight is going to warrant that not only he be slick, but he has to be intelligent, he has to be aggressive, he has to be able to let loose shots that will gain respect. The mid-range control distance is a factor in this fight. David Benavidez is the type of fighter who will pursue, so Caleb can't just move. He's got to optimize space and distance by drawing an imaginary line in the sand and making David Benavidez pay for crossing those lands. Will he be able to sustain something like that in a 12-round grueling matchup? That is the question that he'll have to answer on fight night. He has been known to look a little fatigued late in fights, and it seemed to have haunted him against Canelo Alvarez. But you have to understand something. The difference between Benavidez and Canelo are like night and day. Benavidez has the luxury of having good wheels, meaning good legs, whereas Canelo Alvarez is on flat tires at this point in his career. The 70 fights in his career define that, but Benavidez is coming into prime. And as I said, maturation in the sport of boxing is imperative for a fighter to gain something for the next level. So, when we look at this inside pressure fighter who does know how to textbook like cut the ring off is often overlooked for a tremendous strength of his, because he does know how to cut the ring off. Benavidez also has very fast hands himself. He's thought to be a puncher, but he's not that knockout puncher with a single punch. He is the type of fighter that will break you down over a duration. His punch volume is reminiscent of a Joe Calzaghe. He can really let the hands fly. And that type of pressure will not only put physical stress and duress on a fighter, but mental stress and duress. So will Caleb Plant be up for that challenge? We do know that a lot of people are looking at the physicality of this, but the physicality is not what's going to win this fight. It's going to be the psychology of the fighters that pushes one into the column of victory. There are questions on both men's sides, and Plant has to be able to have the ability to be able to absorb punishment, met out punishment, and have the endurance to last the distance or late into the fight and be effective with it if the bout goes tough and it goes long. That's an intangible. When you look at Benavidez, on the other hand, his conditioning, believe it or not, has never been called into question. Just what's going on upstairs. And if we're catching him at the right time, he very well may be starting to grow up, a lot like Tank Davis, who just a couple of years ago, people were wondering what planet he would end up on because Tank was running into trouble after trouble. Even now, still enduring some of that in his own personal career as a result. So Benavidez can go a long way toward turning things around favorably for himself in this fight. And that's my thought. He's going to rise to the occasion and become victorious. What do you think? This is Stormy B Man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC and Liberated Perspective, a third eye view of the world. For more content such as this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. Let me know what your thoughts are about this battle between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant. It's going to be a barn burner. Peace to everyone out there, and everyone please remain safe.